Before we get into this episode, I just got two statements I got to make real quick, guys. Number one, I'm sorry. I know I told you this would be a Monday morning special, and here we are on Wednesday, and it's finally getting released. Sorry, my schedule got screwed up. I overbooked myself, didn't have enough time to get a midweek check-in and a bonus episode in, so it's getting used as that. If you want a current events episode, sorry, I know a lot's going on in the world. We'll see you Saturday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, wherever you get your shows for the big show. We've never missed an episode of that. I mean, we've shot 2 or 3 episodes on location for a vacation, so I appreciate you guys sticking through it with us for that. We will see you then. If you're looking for current events, sorry, this ain't the one. You'll still find this interesting, so hang around and listen. Number two, I got to issue this statement because this is more of a different type of episode than we normally roll with. So just bear with me, make sure you listen along, and then we'll get right into the interview. All right, the interview you're about to hear is one side of an alleged he said, she said incident where one individual has already had the opportunity to share their side of the story, a story which is then spread in a short period of time to a multitude of people. That individual is not the individual we're interviewing today. These claims are not being made by and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of myself, Mia, the Outlaw Streamers Network, any of its employees, contractors, interns, owners, affiliates, guest hosts, co-hosts, contributors, sponsors, or anybody else involved with the network, which will all be referred to as we, our, or us throughout the remainder of this disclaimer. Our interviewee, Justin Healy, has not been compensated by us, nor has he compensated us at any point in time, in any way, shape, or form, to make any appearance on this show, including this one. He is here on his own free time, on his own free will. Same with me. The statements made by our interviewee are merely his side of the story. The claims, recollections of alleged events, and opinions he's expressed in this interview are his and his alone. You will hear me share my opinions and reactions to various elements of the story throughout this interview, as I do with every topic we cover and every guest we interview. These reactions are based on statements provided to me by our interviewee, both prior to and during the taping of this interview. This, again, merely opinions. This is a comedic informative show, meaning we rely on satire, hyperbole, and humor to express opinions on topics that many would consider to be serious ones. If you're easily offended or feel that you may not be able to handle us making light of serious topics, this is your warning to tune out now. I know most of you got pretty thick skin, so that shouldn't really apply to a lot of you, but some new people that are listening along, I just wanted to give you a fair warning. We are in no way endorsing either side of this story as factual. We are merely giving someone an opportunity to share their side of it as we feel the subject matter is interesting to our audience, and then we are reacting to the statements they make regarding their side of the alleged events that occurred, their story. No one involved in the distribution or production of this show, with the lone exception of the interviewee, was present when any of these alleged events took place. This is one individual's recollection of these alleged events and his alone. As of the airing of this recording, Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, there are no active warrants, arrests, or protection orders against either individual involving the alleged events between the two of them to our knowledge. There are no legal barricades to our knowledge, as expressed by the interviewee, to us, that would prevent us from recording this either. The legal documents referenced in this episode were provided to us by the interviewee and are a matter of public record. To our knowledge, no convictions have been made involving the aforementioned documents as of this recording. It's important to remember that everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. We have no reason to doubt the legitimacy of the documents themselves, as they contain a stamp from government offices along with references to members of law enforcement. But remember, these are statements by members of law enforcement, police reports, and accusations we're referring to. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, I will reiterate. If we had any reason to doubt the validity of these documents, we would not allow this episode to air. Screenshots and recollections of the alleged text messages referenced in this interview were also provided to us by the interviewee along with alleged phone calls. Remember, he has no definitive evidence of who the phone numbers in question belong to or who the alleged text messages were sent from. The discussion of the source of the alleged messages relies on his own speculation and a matter of his opinion, no one else's. We maintain copies of all documents and alleged screenshots on hand at our studio for reference. The individual in question's name has been omitted from this episode and will be replaced with Jane Doe out of respect for their privacy, as they're not a public figure. Only individuals who have either actively sought out the spotlight as entertainers or other public figures are referenced by name in this recording. This show has covered issues and news stories related to the Me Too movement extensively, and we felt that an interview with someone who claims to have experienced it firsthand would be an interesting and relevant topic specific to our audience. As always, we fully encourage our audience to form their own opinions on this matter, just as we do with every other issue we cover on this show. Out of respect to fairness, if you hear this interview and feel at any point that you are the individual in question, the offer is permanently on the table for you to come on this show to share your recollection of these alleged events in the same manner. If your name was mentioned, if you're one of the public figures we just covered, and you want to come on here and defend your actions the same way Mr. Healy did, you are welcome at any time. This offer is permanent. Again, I will re-emphasize, neither myself nor anyone involved in the production or distribution of this show, that's based with Caleb Salvatore on the Outlaw Streamers Network, with the lone exception of Mr. Healy, are in any way, shape, or form endorsing the claims being made by the interviewee as either factual or untrue. We are merely giving him the opportunity to share his side of a story that only himself and the other individual in question know the full truth of. Thank you guys for listening to that. We're going to get into the interview now, so just hang out for 2 seconds and we'll hop right into it. Welcome to a special episode of That's Based, reporting live from somewhere underground. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore. We're laughing our way through the end of days. Brought to you by Outlaw Streamers. Head on over to www.outlawstreamers.com to learn more. Rumble, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. You know, the whole shebang. Big Show airs 9 a.m. Central Standard Time every Saturday. With video on Rumble, and then the midweek check-in with audio only airs at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time every Wednesday. But this is a Monday episode, and we only do special episodes on the Monday, like actually special episodes. We bring on handicapped kids, and we let them talk and do like, you know, we do it once a month. We'll let them be a radio host for a day. But no, not that's not what this is. Justin is not, I don't think, retarded. So we've got him.
I'm kind of retarded.
He's not retarded. I told you guys this was coming. He was a victim of the Me Too movement. He's a stand-up comedian friend of mine. He's been on the show a couple times. I've worked with him in comedy. Him and I got a show coming up on November 11th. Next Saturday, or this upcoming Saturday, Beach House Bar and Grill, 9 o'clock, Omaha, Nebraska. Tickets $10 on e-tix and at the door. Pull him up. Bring him up. Go over to the left. It's under camera. I should have told everyone that. I should have told you that beforehand. All right, there he is. He is. I like bringing you on because it makes me feel good about my hair. The only reason we bring you on here.
I'm so shiny.
Because I compare the two of us on camera, and it just works out for me.
Also, December 1st, Comedian Creek at Papio Pub. You'll be on that show as well.
Yeah, plug your shit, dude. Go for it.
Yes.
Go for it. So we brought you on here because you've had an eventful last couple months.
I'm great at dating. What can I say?
He has the worst taste in women that I think I've ever seen.
I'm 0 for 4.
He is 0 for 4, and the last miss was a big one. Like, he bricked the first 3 off the rim. This one was an air ball that missed by about 20 feet, and everyone told him it was a bad shot and that he wasn't open and he shouldn't have taken it. But he still did it. I want to make it clear. While we're listening to it, I'm actually going to have to do a couple disclaimers here. The first and most important one is, I warned him. You're going to hear all of these things, and you're going to be like, what an idiot. Why would he listen? And I want you to know that I warned him. So if you take nothing else from this show, it's that once again, as we've learned on this show, I'm never wrong. So,
oh, gosh.
Stupid bitch.
So, also, second disclaimer. We are talking about an individual that is not a public figure. So when we use her name, or when we refer to her, there's some of you that are listening to this will probably, that know Justin or know me or whatever and know the situation will probably be able to figure out who we're talking about. But when we refer to her, we're going to call her Jane, as in Jane Doe. So she's going to be Jane. If it's a last name, Mia's in here with us. She'll just say Doe. So that's what we're going to do for that. It's just legal stuff. I'm not trying to get sued. But what I told is this girl basically ran to someone else, another comedian in the scene, and tried to drag your name through the mud. So I said it's only fair that you come on a show with an audience that's probably 500 times bigger to defend your name. And that's what we're going to do. Make sure that mic's right up in your face if you want. You can even take it off the stand if that's easier for you. Some people find that easier. So give us the rundown. Where did you and the lovely lady meet?
All right, so you want the full story now?
Expedite the early parts. I don't need to hear about you guys having sex, but
Okay, so pretty much I met her on Facebook dating, and
Didn't know that was a thing. That's how long I've been out of the game.
it was very successful. Like there's a lot of hits compared to the old Tinder and Bumble.
Very successful. Yes.
And our first date, I took her to the Sarpy County Fair, and we had a good time. She was really big on like Christian and big family. Like she wanted all the stuff that I wanted. So I was like, oh frick yeah, you know. I met a really nice girl, and we went on a few other dates. And then after the first date, I think there was only one night that we actually didn't spend together, which I believe you also said was a red flag.
Red flag. That was
on
number
that
one.
I didn't think anything of it. I was like, all right, this is moving a little fast, but you know, all right, you know, sounds good with me. And then like 2 weeks into it was the first time I posted her photo on Snapchat, and this was the first time I had like I was pretty head over heels for her. Everything was going really, really well.
Right.
And then I posted her photo on Snapchat, and I had a high school friend of mine reach out to me and be like, hey, this girl used to date a friend of mine, and they said, if you care about that motherfucker at all, you'll tell him to run and run fast. And I was like, I got the messages. I was in the kitchen, and I was like looking at her on the couch, and I was like, oh no, you know, like, I thought I found a good one, and there was this vague thing about a dog, but nobody really knew the details. And full disclosure, like I'm 0 for 4 with serious relationships. In 2018, I was a victim of the Me Too movement. Fun fact, if someone's trying to jump out of a moving car, you gotta let them. It's a felony false imprisonment. You're gonna get into a lot of trouble. Let them jump out of a moving. I know it sounds crazy, but that's
not the Me Too movement. That's just a stupid law. That's what like.
Well, it was in the height of the Me Too movement, and I was gearing up to fight that case, but I was really sad and depressed in my head, and I ended up getting behind the wheel, extremely intoxicated, and I made some really bad mistakes then. And pretty much the prosecutors are like, "Hey, you can fight her jumping out of the car. You can go in front of a jury, and if you lose, you're going to get 3 to 6 years. And also, no matter what, we're going to hit you with this DUI as hard as we can.
Yeah.
Or you can plead down to a domestic violence case, which is what I got. It's pretty much been ruining my life ever since. And also, we'll give you diversion for the DUI, and we'll jump down some other charges and give you 3 years probation. So I took the deal. So on paper, I look like an absolute piece of shit, you know?
Right.
Like I look like a scumbag. That's not who I am.
And I've seen the reports. He's not blowing smoke out his ass. That's what happened. The girl tried to jump out of the car and he stopped her. I don't know why that's illegal. Is there? I guess
you're kidnapping.
You're
kidnapping.
But this is the girl you were dating. You weren't.
Yeah.
You didn't pick her up and try to drive away. Yeah.
Yeah. I was 21 at the time, and all the relationships around me were like this level of toxic. I just thought that was normal. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that I was the person. I made a lot of mistakes that night. And like,
right. We all did when we were 21.
It was the worst 7 minutes of my life. And I went through probation. I served my time. And, you know, I moved past that. But also in the back of my mind, I'm like, look, if her friends saw me dating somebody, they would text that somebody and be like, hey, this is a scumbag. You know, you need to run away. So that's the mindset I had receiving those text messages from my high school friends. So I was like, all right, you know, I'm going to give her a chance to like show her own crazy. And now should we get into our the other time that I got warned by it?
This was at the late night at the zoo, right?
Yeah. So
I thought you got warned twice in one night.
I got warned twice in one night. It was wild. Like I said, everything's going great. You know, she's staying the night every night, and honestly, it's really nice. You know, we're talking about having a family and whatnot. Probably moving too fast for.
And this is how many months in?
2 weeks. 2 weeks. Like I'm in the back of my mind. I'm like, yeah, it's moving a little fast. You know. And so we're at Night of the Zoo, and we're by all of the food trucks, right? And we're looking for something to eat, and then this old lady comes up to us with her husband, and she's recording us, and she is cussing Jane out.
Yeah.
She's calling her a bitch. She's calling her all these things. You threw my nephew in jail, blah, blah, blah. And, like, it's straight out of a horror film. Like, I was, like, scared, but I was a little tipsy, you know, It's Night at the Zoo, so I'm like, oh, this is weird, you know? Yeah. And we end up having to have security escort her out, and while she's getting escorted out, she's looking at me, and she's saying, you need to run. You need to run,
Was this
buddy.
woman drunk, too?
I don't know.
She probably had a few, but yeah.
Probably her and her husband though. Looking back on it, I should have took note of how irate they were.
Yeah, that's the thing, dude. I may warn someone if I see something on Facebook. I know a lot of crazy people. There's no one I would walk up to them in public if I saw them with someone and just start cussing at them and warn them. Like, that's a whole level of crazy that I feel the need that, hey, I've got to warn this random stranger I've never met right fucking now.
But to defend myself, Jane is from Council Bluffs.
Right.
So the people she knows likely are very crazy.
Trashy. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, oh, this is Council Bluffs trash coming up to me. And so I'm like, all right, well, let's still have a good night. So then we go to a different food trucks, and we run into our friend who is this very overweight stripper. And
there's a lot more of those than you'd think. You know, it's very discomforting. Yeah.
Honestly, I was like, she showed me a video of like her and a new move that she had, and I was like, honestly, how are you employed? Like, I get it, this is the best economy we've ever had, but
well, no, I know, right? Yeah, best economy.
Bidenomics are really working out.
Yeah, Bidenomics is doing so well. We got fat strippers now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say morbidly obese on this one.
Jesus.
I didn't even know there was a bikini. She had to tell me. It got swallowed in the video. But so then we get food with them, and we go sit down, and we're getting ready to eat, and Jane has to go to the bathroom, and I know, right? It's hard.
It's tough. Yeah,
it's hard.
You got about a 1 minute notice with it. Mia had a couple hours, so.
But so she goes to the bathroom, and this very overweight stripper with an attractive friend of hers. If you're listening, hit me up. You know, I'm great at dating.
Yeah.
But she leans in and goes, you need to run. You need to, like the same thing that the other lady was saying, but she goes, I don't know the full details, but there's something involving a dog, and I don't know. I think she killed the dog. And I was like, holy cow.
Right.
Okay. So I confront.
So this is 3 warnings in 2 weeks.
3 warnings.
You've got more warnings than you
yeah.
have weeks dating.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But mind you, I'm in that mindset of like, I'm going to let her show me the crazy. So I confront her about it.
I'm going to let the cancer metastasize into stage 4. I'm not going to go to the doctor.
I'm going to wait until I can see the tumor before I acknowledge that there's cancer, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so I confront her about it. And Jane tells me that she used to date this guy, and she tried to break up with him, and he started stalking her in his truck and doing all these things, and she had to go to the police station just to get rid of him. And this is a little off topic for context. Why this is all going on, Jane's informing me that her dad had gone to the bank and told the bank that she had gotten into an accident with a semi and was paralyzed from the neck down, and that he stole $5,000 from her 401k.
Which can't happen unless he's a signer on it. Yeah,
I thought that was a little weird.
That's a lie. Yeah, I mean, that would have been a pretty like, you have to show an ID. So he's either on the account or she's lying.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
She said something about him being on the account, that he had done that. Now he's running. He's like running from the police.
Over $5,000.
Yeah.
Gonna throw his whole life in Bidenomics.
Yeah,
you can get a hotel for 1 night for $5,000.
But he was also he like works in finance, and he's already been convicted of like financial fraud. Apparently, I think that actually is true.
Allegedly, we don't know that. So
they live in the same apartment complex, which was a gated apartment complex that left the gate to the exit open. Which I think, what the heck is the point? And it was very expensive too. It was like $1,800 for a crappy Council Bluffs apartment.
Yeah.
And so then his truck was parked outside of her apartment, so she couldn't go back to her apartment.
Was it actually his truck, or was it just someone that lived there?
So, jumping the shark here, yeah, it was 100% his truck. And so I'm in the mindset of like, her dad's like stalking her, trying to like do all this stuff to her, and I'm getting all these warnings about the dog stuff. I confront her. She tells me, she's already told me about the dad. Then she tells me about the crazy ex, and the crazy ex tried to kill the dog, in that she did, in fact, throw a wrench through a window to get the dog back, which was actually a lie, but not fully a lie. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, wow, this is like crazy. This girl always has crazy stuff going on, but I didn't really think anything too much of it, but I did reach out to I believed her Then I reached out to the stripper and I found out that she may or may not have faked a pregnancy. So again, on my part, I know I sound really stupid, but I got all the details about it. I was like, well, maybe she did have a miscarriage, maybe that's what happened.
To put it in sports terms, like we do so often on this show, the other team has told Justin several times they're going to run the ball, and he is in 8-man pass coverage right now. So, go ahead, continue.
So I find out from her. I talk to my friend a little bit more. I get a little bit more information. She has a good alibi for the whole.
They
9
always have
yards.
the best excuses.
Yeah, she said that I brought up, and I told her about my past, and I said, this is why I'm not going to judge you. And she said that her only criminal charge was, what was it, disturbing the peace. And she said that one neighbor was like, yeah, she disturbed me, and they took her to jail.
Because that happens. It's not a ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah, they took her to jail over. That's a little bit more than disturbing the peace, but
Yeah. And so at this point, I'm heading into a vacation, and I'm getting a bunch of text messages from like her friend. She's showing me these text messages from like her friend and her brother about how supportive they are of the relationship, how much they can't wait to meet me. But it always kind of falls through. We never actually hang out, and she's really concerned about her brother getting married to this chick who was apparently a blatant racist and like assaulted her, and that's why she's not going to the wedding in Las Vegas that her brother's having.
Everyone in her life is bad but her. Have you noticed this?
I obviously didn't.
Who's the common denominator? You always got to find the common denominator. Anyway, sorry.
So like I talked to her brother on the phone. I actually did talk to somebody, and I'm like telling him, I'm like, look, man, like I had an ex-fiance cheat on me and pawn the ring, buddy. You need to run before I do. And so all this stuff's going on. Now we lead up into the vacation, and she's supposed to watch my dogs with the vacation. And so I run the show Rising, plug again, Papio Pub.
Yep.
And we'd have a successful show, and I'm there with the owners, I'm there with the bartenders, and we're all celebrating, And she's watching the Chiefs game. We're having a few drinks, and she wants
Red flag, Chiefs flag, or Chiefs game. Red flag.
She's a Chiefs fan.
Chiefs fan, yep.
And so then she's talking about like taking the dogs over to the place that she's staying at now, which is this condo on Carter Lake that her uncle has. She's borrowing her uncle's boat a whole bunch, keeps scratching it. Doesn't seem anything wrong with damaging the boat, which I thought was odd. I'm like, you should definitely apologize. She goes, for what? And I was like, well,
for damaging his
it's
boat.
his boat. You're staying at his place. And I ask her, I'm like, hey, if you're going to do that, if you're going to take the dogs over there, I'd really appreciate if you just tie them up or keep them inside when you go to bed. And she's like, what? You don't trust me? Is that why you don't trust me? And I'm like, no, it's not that. It turns into this whole thing at the pub. It's all going down at the pub. And she's like slamming the doors at the pub. She's making a big scene.
If someone acts that way in public, that's what they're willing to show strangers, right? So whatever they're going to do in private is 10 times that.
Oh yeah. So at this point, I was kind of already looking for an out. I'd fallen out of grace with her, I'm kind of waiting for her I really was just waiting for her to show me her crazy so I'd have a good excuse to break up with her, And I was like, oh, here it is. The bartender was like, how long you guys been dating? I go, about a month. And she goes, this isn't supposed to happen at a month.
No. It took me at least 3 months before she started hitting me.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And so then we drive back to my place, and then she is intoxicated. Like, she's on and off the road. She ends up calling me, and I end up staying on the phone with her, and I'm like yelling at her. I'm like, you're swerving, and all this stuff. It might have been just a ploy looking back on it.
Could have been stone cold sober. Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
she didn't really.
Cold, but like a beer or two,
She didn't really drink that much there, but she was definitely acting like I was surprised that she didn't get pulled over. And
especially in Sarpy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all in Sarpy County, which is a cop haven in this town. And we get back to my place, and she's just not letting this go about watching the dogs. And the whole time, she's implying that when you leave, I'm just going to do whatever I want with the dogs. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you understand why that's not okay? And I'm super calm talking to her because I still have the 2018 stuff fresh in my memory.
Right.
I'm a grown adult now. Like, I don't need to scream at somebody to communicate with them. That's just not the right way. Like, being this animated and having a discussion is probably too animated to have one of these discussions. You know what I'm saying? And it just goes on to like 3 a.m.
Well, and that's also the problem. You got the same issue I do. You have a deep voice, so you're going to be interpreted as more intimidating no matter what. So we both automatically have to chill when we're talking to people.
Yeah, and especially if it's like if there's a disagreement or an argument, I really have the mental note of like I need to stay calm in this
because we have to be very careful.
If I become argumentative, then it no longer becomes constructive. So I was trying to find out like what was upsetting her and like how could we find a middle ground, and she was. So we finally like go to bed, and at this point, she brings it back.
How many weeks into the relationship?
I would say we dated for probably 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
At this point, yeah, about a month. And at this point, she's like vaguely. I'm trying to fall asleep, and she's standing over me in the bed. She vaguely threatens me.
Wait, you're laying down and she's standing up?
Yeah.
Like Michael Myers?
Yeah,
What the fuck?
Well, she kept going out of the room to make phone calls to her brother, apparently. So I thought it was weird, and like she would cry at certain points. I'm like, I was asking her constantly. I'm like, what is so upsetting? Like, because I could tell the underlying issue was that I was leaving for the weekend. That was it wasn't about the dogs.
Yeah, she didn't want you to go on vacation.
She didn't want me to go on this vacation. I was going to a music festival. There was going to be a bunch of half-naked women there. I think that's where her concern came from, but it was mainly like me not being there. And like I'm a stand-up comedian, or at least I'm trying to be a stand-up comedian. Going on the road on the weekends is exactly what I plan on doing. So it was like, I'm like, look, if you have a problem with this now, this is going to be a major issue.
It takes a very, very special woman to put up with that. Mia's like, you don't find many like her that can deal with you being gone on weekends.
Well, hey, hopefully I find one with this crazy podcast.
That's right. There you go. Hey, you never know. I think I drove the last of our female listeners off last week.
Can you imagine an even crazier girl comes out of the woodworks?
Well, I told you our comments are all about like Israel being the great Satan and stuff. So I mean, you may find one, man.
She's like, you know what? I want to end up on that space. Let me ruin Justin's life even harder.
Yeah, you've attracted another one. She wants to be talked about on this show.
Yeah. Seeking fame and fortune. You can use my real name.
So anyway.
So at this point, like I said, it's like 2 or 3 in the morning. And she's threatening me with, look, I'm not going to do anything malice or bad to you or your dogs, but I know people that can and will.
Wow. All because you're going out of town.
Yeah. Well, also at this point, I should mention, she had made me so uncomfortable, I changed my stance to, I don't want the dogs to leave my property. Just keep them kenneled at my house and let them out. Can you just do that for me? You know, because she keeps saying I'm just going to do whatever I want with the dogs. And I'm like, well, no, you're not. Just leave them here now. Like, I don't feel comfortable anymore. Yeah. And so she says that. That's when I get out of the bed. I'm like, you're threatening me right now. You're threatening me. We go back into another discussion. Then we go back to bed. And then I know you didn't want any of the sex stuff, and I promise I won't get into it too much.
We don't need details.
It won't be details, but like.
So anyway, as she was slobbering on my.
No, yeah. No,
throbbing cock.
It's a weird thing that I think you guys should know about her is like, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, whenever she wanted to initiate anything, she would like tickle and pinch me right here. And I don't like that. And I made it very clear the first time that she did that I don't like it. I literally at one point before the fight, I was like, you know, if you want to like get me in the mood or initiate it, you can just grab me down there. You don't need to like pinch me or anything. I'm a guy.
Yeah.
You can just breathe in the right area.
That's basically it. Like women have to feel a certain type of way to be in the mood or whatever. Like, dude, I could be fresh out of the gym feeling disgusting and I'm down.
Yeah. Just
you know what I mean?
Take off your clothes.
Yeah.
Say, here I am. And I'll be like, all right,
cool.
let's have some fun.
I can get the car started here.
But her thing was like, I'm going to annoy him. And then I'm going to be mad that he doesn't want it.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally that night, one of our arguments was like, oh, so you can say no, but when I can never say no. I'm like, you can always say no.
Right.
And I was like, all right, if that's the way you feel, let's come up with a safe word right now.
Right.
That means no limit. Like, when you say that word, it's done.
Right.
And she's like, no. And I was like, we're going to have one.
No, I'm not setting boundaries. That makes it easier to falsely accuse you later on. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then the next morning rolls around, and I'm packing up for the vacation at this point, and she's still going. She's like, I want 10 more minutes. I want 10 more minutes to talk. I'm like, we are talking, but I'm walking and like packing. And then she calls her brother. She calls her brother, and I can hear on the phone that she's implying that we are fighting. Like, the brother's getting really worried, and he wants to come over, and she's looking at me and like, don't worry, he won't come on your property. And I'm like, that's not an issue. He can come into my house. Like, first of all, we're just talking. And second of all, of course, he's invited. He's like, well, I don't want the police. And she mentioned like legal stuff a few times. I'm like, this is kind of weird. And so the argument, it's not going anywhere, and she's lingering, and I've already decided in my mind, I'm like, when she leaves, I'm taking my dogs somewhere else. Like, if my dogs are not staying at the house, first of all, and they're definitely not being watched by her, but now she's refusing to leave. So she's refusing to leave my house. She's actually grabbing items out of my truck and just holding them, and my neighbor's watching the whole thing.
What time is this at again?
9 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
So this is 9 o'clock in the Friday morning. And she's refusing to leave. She's like, I'm going to leave when you leave. I'm like, no, you. And I'm just asking her, please, can you please leave? Can you please leave? I would like you to leave. I'd walk her to her car. I'd open the door for her. She'd be like, well, I just want to talk some more. I'm like, and then we just stare at each other. We wouldn't say anything. I'm like, all right, well, I think the conversation's done. Like, I'll see you later. And she just wouldn't leave. And she finally left, take my dogs to my buddy's house. I pay him money to watch them. And then this is when the craziness starts to happen.
This is when the craziness starts. The last, 30 minutes we've been talking, that was totally sane and rational. Here's where the crazy part starts, guys. Buckle up.
So this is where it gets like, I failed to mention, she called her mom too about the dogs, and the mom, very sane person, was like, hey, dum-dum, you just need to tell him that you're going to watch the dogs and they're going to be safe, and I can't wait for you to get back on Monday. Like,
right, like a normal human.
That's a normal thing to do.
That ship has sailed, though, her watching the dogs at this point.
Yeah, but she didn't know that at the point. And then the mom offers that the dogs can come over to her place. And I go, respectfully, I would just really feel more comfortable if they stayed at my house for the weekend. And the mom completely understood. She's like, oh, that makes tons of sense. I get where you're coming from. Told Jane to like, hey, don't mess us up, behave, kind of deal. And then she hangs up the phone. She looks at me dead in the eyes and goes, why'd you disrespect my mom that way? I was like, what? It's like, how'd you refuse that offer like that? I was like, I thought it was pretty clear that I don't feel safe. So fast forward back to, so she left. I'm on the road. I stop into to the place to get some groceries, and she calls me, and I'm on the phone holding like orange juice. I buy all pulp orange juice, by the way. It came out like sludge. It was supposed to be
stupid.
Supposed to be chaser for tequila. It was not good. But she's like calling me, and she's wanting to save the relationship. And I'm not breaking up with her at this point because I know I'm going to be out of town for 3 days. And, women are women.
Yeah.
So
you don't want your house burnt to the ground.
Yeah, but I'm telling her, I'm like, look, the relationship is definitely going to have to change. I don't feel like I can trust you around my dogs. And that's a really big issue for me. If I can't trust you around my dogs, that's kind of, it's a big deal.
I mean, at that point, if you can't trust someone around your pets or your kids or your house or whatever, at that point, you're pretty much dead in the water.
Yeah.
You're delaying the inevitable at that point.
And she is just all about wanting to save the relationship, and the conversation's going nowhere. So I'm just holding the phone and holding all these items in Baker's, and she's just silent on the phone. And I'm like, hey, like, I need to go. And she's like, well, no, I don't want to. Can I call you again and all this stuff? And I agree to that. So I'm on the road. I call my uncle to watch my house, and I call my mom, and I tell the whole thing to my mom. And my mom listened to her. She said, run.
Yeah.
And while that happens, I get a phone call from Jane, and I don't pick up. And then I get 7 restricted phone calls in a row. And I haven't got a restricted phone call since, like, high school.
6th grade? Yeah.
So I'm like, obviously that's her.
It was just some guy in Pakistan trying to sell you an extended warranty on your car.
And at this point, I'm starting to get text messages from her brother, from her best friend, from people that aren't even naming themselves, but say they're part of the family.
Yeah.
And they are concerned. They're like, we don't know what's going on. We can't find her. all this kind of crazy stuff. Like they're like, we're just trying to figure out what's going on. Where is Jane? You know, we're really worried. We heard you guys
Now,
got into a huge fight.
Was this actually these people, or was this her on a burner phone?
Jumping the shark here.
Okay.
But
You mean jumping the gun?
jumping the gun? Yeah, I like the term. Where does the
Jumping
term?
the shark is like when a TV show goes too far and it ruins the show.
Oh,
Yeah. So you've been using that wrong your whole life. You're welcome.
I just started using it like a month ago. So
Stop.
I just heard it like a month ago. I'm like, I like that.
Jumping the gun. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're all kind of similar text message structures, but I'm just giving them the facts. I'm like, look, blah blah blah. Everything I just told you is what I'm telling them in text message, and you can contact me until 5 p.m. and then I'm in vacation mode.
Yeah.
And I talked to her again on the phone, and I'm like, look, we'll talk about this on Monday when I come back. This is a Monday Justin issue. This is not a Friday Justin. I want to go into this vacation and just relax. You know, I don't want to be thinking about this. So while I'm there, she knew a few of my friends that were going there. She texted each and every single one of those girls to like keep an eye on me and to make sure that I wasn't cheating.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so I told the girls the whole story, and they're like, "Whoa!" They all met her too, and they're like, "This girl's crazy." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna break up with her when I get back home." So the vacation ends well. Don't really hear much from her. Then Monday, she comes over, and she has 2 little kids over, and she has my garage opener because she was supposed to watch the dogs. And so pretty much I'm like, I pretty much break up with her with the kids, and then she leaves, but she takes the garage door opener with her for the first time.
She did that on purpose. Yep.
Yeah, she was on the counter, then
Gives
she
her a
took
reason to
it.
come back. Yep.
She wanted to talk again, and she wanted to talk alone. And at this point, I'm finally listening to people. And they're like, don't meet her alone.
No.
And I'm immediately going to contradict myself because I did meet her alone.
Well,
But I decided to record the
Yeah.
whole conversation.
yeah.
So we sit down at the living room table, at the dining room table, and I'm breaking up with her. And you guys can add the audio if you wish, but pretty much it's me being like, look, I can't trust you with my dogs. This relationship's not going to work. And her trying to save it and us awkwardly staring at each other. And this is probably, I don't know, the 10th time I made a mistake in the whole, fiasco. Because I was like, oh, I felt bad. So I give her a hug, and then I start thinking with my dick. And I decided, and I end up sleeping with her.
Yeah.
And thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. I didn't stop recording. So we go from the living room or the dining room to the bedroom, and it's all picked up on the recording. And she doesn't know that I was recording it. And then she wants to stay the next night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you need to respect my boundaries. Like this I'm like, I can see you maybe once a week, but this relationship isn't gonna. I soft broke up with her. I didn't fully cut the thing. I got soft.
Well, that was your problem there, but
yeah, went soft. And so once she realized that she definitely wasn't coming over the next night, and I worked at 4 a.m. that week, so I was like, we need to go to bed like now. Like we have to go to bed right now. There's no more talking. And it changed from all this stuff to why'd you take advantage of me? She asked me that question, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna get bad.
Yeah.
That wording is
Yep.
bad. She was kind of holding her phone up. I didn't know. I started recording her again. She picked up on that, and I was like sitting there. And I'm asking her, like, did we not have consensual sex, Jane? And she wouldn't answer the question. I'm like, oh, this girl's gearing up.
Yep.
This girl's gearing up for
Get
something.
ready for war. War drums pounding. Yep.
Yeah, but I'm like, little does she know. Little does she know I got proof. You know, so I end up the same thing. She doesn't want to leave. This time I ended up locking myself in my room, and she finally left. And then she calls me, and she tells me that she's going to the hospital because she cut herself with a knife. And I'm like, what knife? And she's like, the knife that I always carry. And she's never carried a knife. She carried pepper spray.
Yeah.
Never a knife.
Never a knife. Yeah.
So she may or may not have went to the hospital. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. That's strange. And then I'm getting all these text messages from these people still, and they're like all this stuff about freaking out. And I think it was actually, I feel like I'm missing stuff because while we did that, she informed me that her birth control had broken. I think it was right after we had sex. And she always wanted me.
Yeah.
She always wanted me to finish inside of her. Another red flag. I know, but I love it. So she's like, yeah, I just want to let you know that my birth control broke. And I just looked at her and I just went, I just don't believe you.
Convenient timing, right?
Yeah, I was like, I don't believe you. And then she's like, well, I got it fixed.
Oh, because that's how it works. They went in with a screwdriver and just repaired it. Yeah.
Yeah. So to actually do the timeline on Friday for the broken birth control, because eventually she fakes a pregnancy. It's kind of honestly, the story, that's a minute point, honestly, with the whole story. But her timeline for Friday was after she left my house, she went over to her brother's house, cried, screamed, and freaked out for several hours. Then she was able to meet with the doctor, get her birth control re-implanted because it was broken, meet with the doctor, then go to her uncle's house, get a boat, then go back to her brother's house, get him and get her friend, and then go to the Lake of the Ozarks. It is a fact that she did go to Lake of the Ozarks, though.
Just in between, yeah.
But I don't know how you would break a birth control on a Thursday and get into a doctor's appointment and then have no visible, it was one of the arm ones too,
Yeah.
so she had no visible signs of it,
Yeah.
like doing all that. So I just flat out didn't believe that one. And so now, where were we at? She's already left for the hospital, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then the next day happens. And
This is when it all kind of just blew up, right?
I'd say, yeah, the next couple of days. And so then I'm getting all these text messages. She changes her story she deletes all the Snapchat messages that we've had as we were dating. And then she won't admit why she went to the hospital. She finally says that she went to the hospital for seizures in the Snapchat messages. So I screenshotted that. And I'm like, all right, I have a feeling like I'm getting these text messages about like domestic violence. And the next thing I know, I get a phone call from the Bellevue police.
Yeah.
And the Bellevue police want to know information because at this point, Jane, is her official story to the police was that I had thrown her down a flight of stairs. I had bit her in the chest. I had grabbed her arm so hard that it had broken her birth control, and I had raped her 4 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's all. That was all that she was accusing with me with the police. And I'm like, this is insane. That definitely didn't happen. So I contact my lawyer from the 2018 case, because I'm gearing up. He does his stuff that lawyers can like look into court cases, and he goes, you need to find out why the La Vista police got a search warrant for her phone. And this is where it all gets kind of crazy. The rest is just like normal breakup stuff. So I go to the courthouse.
Which we have the documents. Mia's gearing up to read a bunch of it. There's some I haven't heard any of this stuff, but continue, yeah.
Yeah, so I go to the courthouse, and to shorten it up, it's 25 cents a page. I spent $27.
Oh my God, that's how long her rap sheet was. Holy shit. He got a Big Mac meal in Joe Biden's America.
Dude, I couldn't believe it. So I found out the information about the dog, and according to the police records, she had told her previous boyfriend to give a dog heart.
Well, should we, Mia, do you have that document?
I don't have anything about the dog.
Oh, you don't have the dog one? Okay,
It's in the paperwork that I gave you.
I've seen the dog one, so this is a real document.
I only have the thing about the search warrant with the phone.
Oh, really? Do you have all the paperwork? I can probably find it while I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
No, you're good. I think I've seen it. I think I have a picture of the document or of the dog thing somewhere. Anyway, go ahead. Keep talking. Sorry.
So pretty much in the document, you can post a photo or whatever if people want to know. But she had told her ex that it was heartworm dewormer medication to give the dog that, and it was. It turns out that it was 500 milligram antihistamine, and he had given the dog.
It was ibuprofen, is what the report said.
Was it? And this
Yeah.
it says antihistamine.
Oh,
The
well,
A
regardless, you
starts
can't
with
give a
A's.
dog either of those things.
Yeah, so the dog gets very sick, and they take it to the urgent care, and they save the dog. The dog doesn't die. The dog's
Right.
name was Bolt.
Well,
And then I come to find out that she then started impersonating her ex via these burner phones and texting herself terroristic threats. And then she went to the police.
this is all alleged. She hasn't been convicted of this stuff. I got to do that for legal purposes. Sorry.
Yeah,
These are police reports we have. This is what the documents say. As far as I know, she hasn't been convicted. I have to say that so I don't get sued. Sorry.
It is alleged, but she is being charged. So
It's alleged, but in my experience, where there's smoke, there's fire. We'll put it that way.
That's what I saw is the impersonation. I didn't see anything about the dog though, but I saw the impersonation.
I'll find it. Don't worry.
Oh, I have the picture. I have it right here. I have the documentation right here.
Yeah, read the police report.
So it says, let's see here. Oh, this isn't the one. False peace officer. Oh, where'd it go? Let's see here. Here it is. Doe informed us on admitted while at her apartment so that the boyfriend had given Bolt an unknown pill, which led them to take Bolt to the blank urgent care center for pets. Urgent care toxicology reports showed he had ingested acetaminophen, which is ibuprofen. Or is that aspirin or it doesn't matter. This case is related to the previous check well-being call in which Doe made statements to officers about wanting to intentionally feed Bolt antifreeze in his water to kill him. This is what she willingly told police officers. I contacted the boyfriend via this is the officers reporting this, via his telephone number. He stated he never contacted Doe with the number which appeared on her text. He showed screenshots of the same number calling his phone 23 times that she claimed had been texting her. Boyfriend stated that Doe gave him the unknown medicine to give to Bolt, deceiving him into believing it was heartworm medication. Doe was interviewed by the police department where she eventually confessed to harm Bolt in order to bring her and her ex-boyfriend back to the way they were.
That part's crazy, isn't it?
Yes, because nothing brings you together like framing a guy for killing your dog. Doe told the officers the unknown pills were 500 milligrams of acetaminophen, and that she deceived the boyfriend into giving them to Bolt, knowing that they were harmful to him. Yeah. Doe further admitted to using an iPhone application to creating a fake phone number in which she texted herself, pretending to be the boyfriend and threatening to kill and harm Bolt. Doe initially falsely reported this to officers that the unknown fake phone number and text messages were sent from the boyfriend and not herself. Based on the statements and admissions from Doe during our interview, as well as our past contacts with her at her apartment, she was arrested for all of the above listed charges due to the repeated statements of intending to harm the dog, as well as the potential for the dog to continue to be at risk. They took the dog away. Long story short. So, yeah, so that's who we're dealing with. Remember, not convicted of this. This is in the police report. So either you've got police officers in I don't know how many different documents in I don't know how many different counties lying through their teeth to conspire against this girl, or there's a little bit of fire to the smoke here. That's all we have to say. Mia has the documents. What did you want to do? Mia's our Alex Jones. I have the documents.
I have the other ones. I couldn't read, and I didn't see that.
She does not know how to read. It's common amongst Native Americans.
Well, no, there were so...
Oh, this is the...
Yeah, that is the dog one.
Yeah,
there is
a
pile of the legal documents.
Yes, typically... this is like a phone book's worth of documents here. I mean, seriously, when you've got the Guinness Book of World Records of legal charges, it probably says a lot more about you than the people you formerly dated.
I couldn't believe it. My jaw hit the floor at the courthouse. I was like, holy cow, like this girl, like, I started to think about when she was like standing over me at that night. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was in like actual danger.
Yeah. So she got a protection order against you, right?
Yes.
Which in the state of Nebraska, all you have to say is this person sexually assaulted me, and it's pretty much no questions asked. Doesn't matter who you are, who they are, what evidence you have. 30 days, no questions asked. They will ban that person from wherever you ask them to ban them. So she didn't just ban. Where all did she ban you from?
So Mia, can you actually pull up what she stated in the protection order? It's going to be a smaller piece of paper. It's going to be ex parte on the front of it. So she banned me from the venues that I do comedy at, the one places that I actually run my actual show.
Yeah.
And then she also banned me from my own church, which
right.
it was ridiculous.
Which is what abusers do, which is strip you of your support system.
Everywhere that I took her that she knew was something that was a part of my life, she banned me. And there's 2 handwritings on that. And I'm sure you want to get into that portion a little bit more than I do.
I don't have proof that this is who it was, so I'm going to hold off on saying that, but I think we all know it's a certain hairy ginger
clearly
female comic. I've never seen proof that it's a female, and believe me, I have self-respect, so I never wish to.
And she tried to show me she was a female. What?
It's like off to the side too.
Yeah, it's all piled on there.
The
yeah,
other address, it's clearly off to the side, like it was just added in there later with very different handwriting.
It's funny that these two can sit here and claim the moral high ground on this thing when they're banning you from places that she doesn't even go to. It's clearly just a let's fuck this guy over thing.
And a side note is like I take my aunt to that church. I grew up. That was my church. I went to school there. My family's been there since pretty much the church was founded. We all live in the neighborhood for generations now. We've gone to that church, and my aunt's getting to the point where she can't really walk. It's kind of a long walk into that church, and I help her walk into that church for the entire month. She's had to do at-home mass, and she's been out. We tried in other places. She doesn't want to go to other church is. She wants to go to her church, and it's just it put her out too.
Right.
But so I'm finding out all this information, and I find out about all these fake phone numbers, and that's when I realize, I'm like, holy cow, all these numbers are probably her. They're probably Jane.
Yeah.
And that's when the fake pregnancy happens. And I'm still trying to get my garage door opener back, and I'm trying to contact her mom about the garage door opener back. And I'm getting all these text messages from these numbers that I now know are fake. And they're like, oh, we can't find Jane. We can't find Jane. We're trying to find Jane. And it's just like, I don't know what to tell you. Jane's already texted me and said where she was. If she's not contacting you, that's a you issue. But then they're like, oh, we went to that place. She's definitely there. The garage door opener's there. Come on over, or I can bring it over to you.
That's a setup.
100%. And I'm like, I haven't heard from the mom yet. So I'm like, this doesn't seem right. So I wait for the messenger. I finally get a hold of the mom. She was sick. And she's like, yeah, Jane was over here, but she didn't mention anything about a garage door opener. And
Or
she,
a rape?
And she left. No. And
So she was supposedly assaulted and she told everyone, but except her family.
Yeah, and supposedly I went over there and I hid in the bushes. So somebody that got back to me too is like, did you like go over there and were you stalking her and hiding in the bushes and stuff? So I think that's what the setup was supposed to be.
Okay.
I think it was supposed to lure me over there.
She
And
was going to catch you on her property.
Yeah, after she told me not to contact her at all. Because again, she doesn't know that I have the recording of her begging to save the relationship.
Yeah.
And me being like, nah, son. And so all that happens, I talk to the mom, and I find out all the information. I have these screenshots for Mia, too, but they're kind of long. But in summary, I talked to the mom about it, and she's like, she's done this in the past. I warned her not to get into relationships before.
You need to institutionalize your daughter.
Yeah.
She needs to be locked up.
She's like an adopted. They're not like, it's not blood, obviously.
But that's still your daughter. You need to do something, she needs to be committed.
It's going to be hard to explain. So her adopted mom is no longer, they're on bad speaking terms.
Shocker. Because all her other relationships seem like they're going so well.
Also, I found out that her and her dad actually takes care of her and actually handles her finances. They're very well off. They're an affluent family, and so they pretty much bankroll her life, and their dad's like works in finances. Great guy. The La Vista police officer is the one that told me about him when he served me the protection order. He's like, no, he's a great guy. He's pretty much her accountant. And then her best friend's mom, she's a saint. She's had over 165 foster kids come through her house. She's adopted 35 of them. Most of them are special needs.
It's a full-on army of retards, man. Holy shit.
Yeah, and just one of the most
Could
compassionate.
conquer empires with that.
Yeah, compassionate and just really level-headed. Just a wonderful person overall. And she's telling me all this stuff like, yeah, I warned her not to get into these relationships. So I started asking her questions. I'm like, was there this thing with the dog? And she didn't know the details on the dog, but she did confirm that she tried to break into a house with a locksmith, not by throwing a wrench through the window like Jane had said, but she got a locksmith to try to kidnap that same dog that she poisoned.
Oh, my God.
And so now at this point, I've reached out to her, that mom, that woman's actual daughter. We'll just call her Meg. I just won't say her name after that. Yeah, these are the screenshots. And I reached out to her, and I'm talking to her about it. And she's like, this isn't the first time she's done this. And at this point, I'm getting photos of an ultrasound from a new number that doesn't say its name. That's like, I was told to send you this kind of deal.
Yeah.
And so I text her friend. I'm like, because it mentions her in the text. And I was like, are you at the hospital right now with Jane? And she goes, no, she's faked a pregnancy before. Sends me the photos.
Same pregnancy test.
Same pregnancy test, same photos before I had sent her the photos. So she's full-blown faking the pregnancy. And then the protection order goes on full force. And then this is where it all cascades into stuff that's
And we're
really,
in Vegas at this point. You're in Vegas with me at this point.
No. This is a couple days after. This is the Wednesday after September 9th-ish.
So what's funny was when this was all when the fake pregnancy stuff was going on when we were in Vegas. And I remember that because I remember we were walking down Fremont Street and I posted an Instagram story.
I don't remember walking down Fremont
Yeah,
Street.
there's not a lot of memory from Fremont Street, but this was early on at Fremont Street. And I remember we're walking down Fremont Street and I pull up my Instagram story and I see that she's been watching my Instagram stories. I never check who watches my stories. And for God knows how long, she's been watching them. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to follow her back and see what she's posting. She immediately accepts my follow request And you know how Instagram, you have the close friends, so you can set it so only certain people can see your stories? She immediately creates a close friend story that I'm assuming only I could see. And it's the first one is a picture of her in the hospital. And it says, surgery went well. And it's a picture of her in a hospital bed. I'm like, okay, this is weird. Couple days later, I see a picture of an ultrasound of a baby that is way too far along to be the week pregnancy that the 1 week pregnancy. She just moves fast in everything, man. Relationships, pregnancies, everything just speeds up for her. She's living with you in a week of dating. The baby is fully developed, has a heartbeat and a brain by a week into the pregnancy. But so it's a picture of an ultrasound and it's only I can see it. And she's like, first pregnancy ultrasound with a baby bump. And it's clearly taken on someone's bedroom TV. It's a still image pulled up from a computer. What pisses me off more than what she did to you was that she thinks I was stupid enough to fall for this and that she could gaslight you through me. Vicariously gaslight my friends through me. That pisses me off. What does she think? I was sitting there on the phone with you going, bro, she's really pregnant. You gotta get this figured out, man. Like no. Listen, I'm anti-abortion, but if I could ever make a case for aborting a baby, it'd be a pregnancy with that woman. That's all I'm going to say. You do not. That
baby,
demon spawn should not be out into the fucking world. That's all I'm going to say.
Speaking of demon spawn, she was always cold, like all the time. Like even if it was 80 degrees, she'd be like physically cold.
Well,
and I'm like looking back, I'm like, man, maybe that's a demon.
Mia's oddly quiet right now. After that,
because she's always cold. Well, she's alcohol, Native Americans.
well.
It's a weird thing, I'm sure.
So you got railroaded by the entire comedy scene.
Yeah, so this is the blowback. So she reached out to every single comedian.
You know who she didn't reach out to, though?
Well,
she didn't reach out to myself, she didn't reach out to David Terrell Green, and she didn't reach out to Jacob Wilson, who were the only 3 that had ever met her before. So
you guys met her at the party. She had met almost all of the people that she reached out to.
We were the 3 that had met her on a personal level at right before all this went down. So she knew that who was closer to you and who could see through the crazy. We were the only 3 that didn't get messages.
Maybe because she wanted to go to all the open mics. She went to the Omaha Comedy Festival with me, so she met all the Omaha comedy festivals. And that one comic that shouldn't be named actually when Jane went to the bathroom at the after party, she leaned in and goes, "Take it slow, take it real slow."
This was Brooke.
Yeah, and this is the first week we were dating.
Brooke Parcells, a public figure. We can say her name. She's an unfunny comedian that we have no respect for because she deserves none. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, she was warning me about the relationship.
And you know she's going to hear this.
I hope she does.
I
they're
really
both
going to hear this.
Because I think that's the main thing that we want to discuss here is that blowback stuff besides the story.
Because like I said, and I told you this. I said, don't let someone else tell your own story. You should, if you're comfortable coming on and talking to me, you should. And if they want to take it to an audience, I can do that too. So
yeah, that's no problem. If somebody doesn't believe any of this stuff, I have no problem.
Well, we have the documents.
I have all that. There's a flash drive with the recording. I also have an edited recording where he took out all the awkward silence. It's about 20 minutes shorter, and I have the full one too. So I have everything. That's what really saved me. If I didn't, which is to get back to it, if I didn't like others before me, I would have ended up in jail.
Yeah.
So I found out through private, I'm number 10 on the protection order list. There
10 protection orders.
There was 9 other boyfriends.
Dude, and I was telling Mia this. The other day, I understand victim shaming isn't, we're not supposed to victim shame, but if you've been raped by 10 boyfriends, you're doing something wrong. Even if every allegation was true, if you've been raped by 10 different men, some of the blame falls on you. I don't know what else to tell you.
This is victim shaming.
It is, but some of the blame falls on... What the fuck are you doing?
This is so close to you deserve to get raped, Caleb.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying maybe there's some things you can do to prevent it. It's like if you get in 10 car accidents this year that you don't get held legally responsible for, let's be honest, you're probably not a good driver. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so...
I mean, we don't know what she was wearing in these No, I'm kidding.
Well, also, to my defense, she was a 90-pound ex-cheerleader. Not a bad-looking gal.
Right.
Caleb will disagree because she was a little more tan than he likes, but that's his thing.
It's not the tanness. It's just that she looked like Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder.
She
That was the thing. Obviously, I don't have a problem with brown women. Jesus.
She really did.
I'm not that brown.
No, well, she's red. Mia's the red face of white supremacy over
That's
here.
the crayon in the crayon box.
Actually,
Caleb
I think
likes.
your skin might be paler than mine. Anyway.
I like the yellow crayon in the crayon box. What? But so then she adds all the comedians that she met at every open mic, at every show that she went to, and she's like, Justin's this horrible person. Justin did this. And one comedian from Des Moines, which this one upset me the most.
This one pissed me off too, because she came for my throat. For
Did she
defending
really?
you. Yes.
Yeah, so she reached out
And
to
I
me.
considered her a friend.
Yeah, so I had a female comedian that's a friend of mine reach out to me and was like, hey, I'm hearing some really bad stuff about you. What is going on? And I said the whole story like I just told you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I have all this evidence to back it up. And she's like, well, you better make it. One other comedian's like, you better make a public notice. You better get out in front of this because there's a lot of people going around. So she told comedians, those comedians told other comedians, and it spread like wildfire.
Tacos, yeah.
I think within the first day, everybody that was involved in the Omaha comedy scene had known what had happened from that side of the story. So I went on a full frontal, and I called out Brooke Barcel on Facebook, and I was like, hey, first of all, there is no arrest warrant out for me because that was the rumor going around at that time. I posted all the shots from the searches for that, and I was like, and I'm willing to tell anybody and everybody that wants to know anything about this. You can call me, you can text me. I will tell you every single thing I know from my perspective. And guess who never reached out?
None of them.
Well,
none of
no,
the woke
one,
retards.
Brooke.
Yeah.
Brooke never once has reached out to hear my stuff, but she posts hashtag believe all survivors left and right. The one from Des Moines, she literally
Melanie.
said, she said, well, you know how it is with females in the comedy scene, so you can understand my perspective from it.
No.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain this, but just because somebody got called sugar tits in 1982 does not justify you just believing I'm a rapist.
Well, and this is what I've said is the problem with this. We shouldn't believe or disbelieve anything someone says because of what's between their legs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It should be taken at a case-by-case basis. And that's the problem with the believe all women thing is you've had a lot of guys that have been burned by that. Because I said this on the show. Yes, everyone knows a woman that's been raped, but everyone also knows a guy that's been falsely accused. And maybe it didn't get taken to court, but his reputation took a hit. People won't associate with him anymore. Maybe he lost his job. I mean, who knows, right? Maybe it was used against him in child custody court. Who knows? It could be a slew of things. And you have so many guys that have been burned by this now, it's actually backfired and it hurts actual victims and it makes that harder for them to get help. And that's the problem with what this thing's done. And that's what pissed me off the most was with Mel Mackey from Des Moines, was she's someone I consider a friend. We don't see eye to eye on how the world should be run because she doesn't understand politics and the economy, but that's fine. Social issues, she doesn't understand how those work, but that's fine. But we always had a common respect for each other. And the fact that I was that outspoken about something, she immediately came to me, told me I was wrong, and basically that I was a piece of shit, and then blocked me on everything. And that's fine. So, but what pissed me off about that was that means one of two things, right? That I was that outspoken about something and you didn't even bother to ask what information I maybe had that you didn't that made me feel so strongly about it. You went straight to shaming me, which tells me one of two things. Either you don't respect me, which is cool, get in line. There's plenty of people that don't respect me. Or number two, you don't care and you just want to push a certain narrative and because that's what it is. It is a death cult. These people are all just engulfed in it and they would rather your life getting ruined on what might be a false accusation is worth it if it means the narrative lives on, if it means the ideology, the cult, the tribe, whatever you want to call it, continues to push forward. That was my biggest problem. That's what pissed me off the most, and that's why I went on the assault about it.
So
and because I like you.
I also wondered if it was like a personal thing because we had always been cool. I was like, did she just was waiting for an opportunity to attack me? I know Brooke was.
No, yeah, Brooke always
I knew
was.
I knew Brooke's crusade was a personal thing against me because I've gone to every single one of her open mics and I've been one of the only comedians that actually practices it. That's not a new comedian, and I have not been booked since we had a fallout in 2021 with her shows. You know, and we're always cordial and friendly to each other's faces. And all this, and I'm like, really? In 2 years, you're not gonna put me on another show? There got to be something going on. And then she went on this crusade. I'm like, okay, she never did like me. She was just being fake for the last few years.
You talking about Mel?
No, Brooke.
Yeah.
With Melanie, I thought we were friends. And now that problem is that's a whole different comedy scene now that's just gonna have that narrative.
That perspective.
Yeah, I can't.
Fortunately, you had enough people here that were smart enough and weren't just getting fed one line of bullshit that you could talk to, and they could be like, okay, hold on, that doesn't make sense. But yeah, no, I'm sure I'm railroading. I'm kind of already railroaded in that scene because I tell funny jokes, but that's okay, nonetheless.
Woke and yoked, man. Woke and yoked.
Woke and yoked. No, I'm not woke, but I'm a little yoked. You know, it's all good though. But that's the thing is like that. She was someone that I actually considered a friend that I got caught. I didn't get caught in the crossfire. I mean, I was sticking up for you. I have no problem standing. Like I got told when I was a kid, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right? And these idiots. I mean, it is what it is. I got fed to the wolves right with you, and I was proud to do it. So
I'd say it's about 10% of the scene for about a month were very anti me, and I'd say it's more about 5% now, and it coincided right with the LGBT lines.
But that 5% is going to be anti you no matter what.
No matter what, and they're
they
not
had
that
already
funny.
made their minds up. None of this could have happened, and they already didn't like you. This just gave them an excuse to claim moral high ground. Same thing with me. They hate me. I know that. I know certain people talk about me. I know certain people have blacklisted me from venues that I haven't even wanted to set foot in for years. That's fine. I don't care. They think about me a whole lot more than I think about them. That's fine.
Yeah, and the whole thing is like I've already been labeled as problematic, and it's like I just try to be a nice person to everybody that I meet, and like yeah, my jokes are pretty out there. They're pretty risque jokes, you know.
I'm gonna tattoo problematic on my body somewhere.
It's so stupid. I've been banned from venues too, and it's just like I don't have anything really against you besides the fact that you banned me from your venue. You know, I may not agree with you.
And to clarify, banned for content on stage, not behavior off stage.
Yeah, exactly. For the material, they're like, "Oh, he's problematic." It's like, well, I'm a darker comedian. That's just how I am. And it's just like to watch these people just go on this crusade. It's ridiculous. It's like I may not agree with you on your lifestyle, on all of your opinions, absolutely every single one that you have, but I'm still cordial and friendly with you. You know, you're still a human being. You know,
Right.
I'm not gonna actively try to destroy your life unless you come after me.
Right. And then whatever happens, happens, right?
Yeah.
We're kind of going over time here. Mia, do you have any juicy documents from these court cases that you want to hit before we shut the show down? Do you have anything that's like that really hits hard, or should her and I do a separate episode next week where we just go over these documents?
Not the documents, but just like the screenshots. I just found some stuff really interesting. Like, I mean, just originally right off the bat, I noticed from the text messages, like you could just tell right away they were all from a fake number because the format of the texting was all the same.
Yes.
It was like one sentence, exclamation point, one sentence, exclamation point.
I noticed that too.
Because not everyone texts the same. Everyone texts differently.
Everyone has their own little lingo. You know what I mean? Like if you, unless you're a 40-plus-year-old man, then you only reply with thumbs up, yes, no, and okay.
I'm still getting those text messages, by the way.
Are you really?
Yeah, last week I got another one.
What else did you find?
The girl Maddie that she said she was in one of the texts is also the one from the false impersonation case.
Yes.
That she said was texting her and like outside her house or something.
Yeah, Maddie's her friend, the one that told me about the pregnancy.
Yeah, the one. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting that she sent that text and then that she was also the one that she said was texting.
They're no longer friends, by the way. This was the final straw.
That's smart.
I figured. But yeah, everything else you kind of went over, and I noticed like all of your notes in there were pretty
in depth.
Yeah.
In depth.
What, the text messages I sent to those numbers?
No, like because you made notes on the side.
For some of them. Yeah, and then there was the one that she said was her brother.
Yeah.
She called him girly.
See, she can't even keep up with their own lies. Well, there was one, Rachel, another comedian.
I just that like came out to me right away. I was like, "There's no. Why are you calling your brother girly?"
That is weird. I didn't even catch that. I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Rachel, another comedian, pointed out that some of these messages were screenshotted, so they had cropped the number of the contact and put it over different messages. And she showed it because the heart on the name, the heart emoji, was cut off at the bottom, whereas the heart would actually show the full heart. So it's just all kinds of these people can't keep up with their own lies, and so you published the dog poisoning thing to Facebook, and you tagged Brooke Barcel, our best friend here, in that post.
Yeah,
And
defender.
she didn't even acknowledge it. Like, this is a court document. Clearly, I mean, it's alleged, but this is what the officers are saying right here. We have no reason to disbelieve them. I'm going to trust the cops a lot more than her in this scenario. She didn't even acknowledge that. She said, "Oh yeah, well you forgot the part where you pretended to be her brother to go down and get that." I'm like, okay, so you're admitting that you're tying your wagon to a puppy poisoner. You're basically female Michael Vick with a pussy here. You've tied your wagon to it. You're not even going to acknowledge that. You impersonated her brother. First off, there'd be no reason for you to impersonate her brother. I could walk down there and get those documents right now.
Yeah, I the next photo I sent was the receipt that I had. It had my name misspelled, and I was like, "Are you gonna say that I did this too?" I was like, "Here's the receipt."
Everyone
for me.
misspells your name. I misspelled it on the comedy show poster, which you can see November 11th, Saturday, at Beach House Bar and Grill, 9 p.m. here in Omaha. We got to get wrapping this up, man. Do you want to plug anything else? Any closing comments, anything like that?
No, just I have Rising coming up on November 9th at Papio Pub. It's a free showcase featuring Omaha's up and coming and then some veterans. And then I have Caleb on Comedian Creek, same place, Papio Pub. It's gonna be $10, 9 o'clock. Come on out.
December 1st, right?
That one is December 1st. It's gonna be really good. We're doing 2 monthly shows there until people stop showing up. So come on out.
That's good. Don't let my show be the one they don't show up at. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you Wednesday, midweek check-in with audio only, wherever you get your shows, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse. And if you do cheat on your spouse, don't accuse anybody of rape. And stay based.